assume your position, sir.
Indeed.
And we're back. Between two Yetis, it's day 2 of the Miami Yacht Show.
Yeah.
Very important distinction.
Yeah. There's like 3 locations now to worry about, so yeah.
Yeah. But it's definitely day 2.
Yes, yeah.
And we're with, second time appearance.
Yep.
In
Tony
the daylight
Gilbert.
hours,
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
Tony Gilbert.
Yeah.
How you doing, sir?
Very good, very good.
You're a year in now, right?
Yeah, about a year and a half, though, that I've been with Seakeepers, and about a year in my current position of program director. And yeah, a lot of stuff has happened. So we've been on 12 scientific expeditions, a lot of them in the Bahamas, doing a lot of shark research. And we have a few other initiatives and programs that are coming up in the near future. So
just go back a second, because we first met you at the Seakeepers party in Miami last year.
Yeah.
You just joined.
Yeah.
Now, I was behind the camera as Zach was interviewing that time, so I couldn't hear what he was saying.
Okay.
I didn't realize that you're a lawyer.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I went to law school, and I never practiced because after taking the bar, I immediately started working with Seakeepers. Now, how I started working with them was in a legal-related matter, but after that, I liked their mission, I liked the people that I was working with, and I just stayed on. And
so hold on.
Yeah.
All those student loans.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, you do what you can, and
how much have you got in student loan?
I'd rather not say.
6 figures, though, right?
Oh no. I kept it, you know, reasonable.
But, oh, okay.
But you know, it's something that.
But you've got that, you know, you can defend somebody.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, I've got a wealth of knowledge and education that is great, but. You know, then again, I'd probably be shooting myself if I was behind a desk 10 hours a day.
This is it. So, I've been in the industry 25 years.
Yeah.
And I never knew what Seakeepers did until we met you.
Right.
And it's, in a nutshell, you've got the pitch down. Go on.
Yeah, well, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. What we do is we facilitate marine research, conservation efforts, and education. And in those 3 prongs, what we mainly do is the scientific research part, where we take scientists who need to charter a vessel, and rather than have them spend all that money chartering a vessel, we ask yacht owners and captains, hey, would you like to lend your vessel for a week at a time or whatever to this research team so they can go to whatever location they need to go to. And, you know, so a lot of it has been shark tagging. So we've gone to the Bahamas more than.
And you do this with them, don't you?
I do. That's one of the biggest perks of my position is I not only am the liaison between the scientists on one side and the captains and owners on the other, but I bring them together, I coordinate the thing, and then I actually go and make sure that all goes well on the trip. And yeah, so I get to wrangle sharks.
Had you ever been on a boat before?
Oh yeah, actually as a child I did a lot of boating.
Oh, okay.
Mostly water sports, not so much fishing. But yeah, so I definitely have my sea legs from since I was a small child. So this is actually a really good fit for me. So,
it really is.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, the association with Michael.
Yeah.
So he's like the father.
Yeah, pretty
much. The father
much.
figure behind this.
He was, when he was appointed chairman, he kind of brought the International Seakeepers Society.
He was appointed, or he appointed himself?
I believe he was appointed chairperson years ago. And at that time, Seakeepers was in a very different, there was a different form of Seakeepers where instead of being a platform for scientific research, instead they were putting this massive instrument and data recording system inside the hull of boats. And with the aim that they would transmit this data, whatever it was measuring, whether it be salinity, pH, temperature, current, whatever it be. And no one really knew what was happening with that data. No one knew where it was being transmitted to, what server. It was just, and the technology itself was becoming obsolete. So Sylvia Earle, which has probably the foremost name, there's Jacques Cousteau and then Sylvia Earle right here when it comes to marine science. So she was on the scientific advisory board at that moment. I think it was 2013 when she suggested, why don't you get away from this whole data collection thing by putting machines or instruments inside the hulls of boats. Let's put scientists on boats. And once that light bulb went off, it just completely took off, and that's what we call the Discovery Yacht Program. So anytime a yacht owner or captain gives their boat to seakeepers for, a scientific expedition or for a citizen science kind of initiative, we label them as a Discovery Yacht. So, and we've been growing that fleet ever since.
How many are there now?
A lot. And, some are repeat customers, if you will, but a lot of them have done it maybe once and then moved on. So that list is big, but it's not to say that we have all these boats to call upon. So we're constantly trying to meet more and more captains and bring them into the fold. And,
so you said you've done 12 in the last...
In the last year, we've done 12 expeditions, yeah.
And you've been on each one?
Yeah. There were a couple that I couldn't attend because either geographic-wise or scheduling-wise there was a conflict. But all the ones that I was able to be there for, I've been on them. And
so, there was one you were telling us about where they were going to try. It was like an ROV that went down really deep.
Yes. Okay, so we basically were testing out, or it was kind of the maiden voyage of these. These were oceanographic measuring instruments, but they're shaped kind of like a missile, if you will. So it's very hydrodynamic. And what it does is, with no motor, just using...
No motor?
No motor. It just has an air bladder where it descends to a certain depth, then comes back up, and in doing so, and with control planes, you can control it remotely like a drone.
So it's like a bird flying, it just works on pressure.
And it's very autonomous actually, because you can pre-program a path for it and it'll just go down, come back up, and what it's doing is going through that water column, it's taking a bunch of different measurements like temperature, current, salinity, pH, all these things that kind of build a picture of what the ocean is doing, how it's behaving. And what's the big picture there, and why is that research important? Because when you know how the ocean is behaving, you kind of know how the overall mechanism that is the atmosphere and the ocean, which they kind of work in tandem. If there's odd behavior, let's say, or it's been changing over time, then that's signifying climate change, which, scientists have been struggling to try to convey that message for a while now. And so, that's why measuring ocean currents and just how the ocean behaves, both with currents at the surface and at the bottom, because it's kind of like a conveyor belt system.
Yeah.
That's why that research is important. And that was the first expedition I went on in the Bahamas. And,
so what's really... I don't want to delve too much into climate change, because that's a very political issue.
It is, but that's the science behind it. But anyway,
what for you has been shocking?
Okay, so, well, I wouldn't say what's been shocking, but research that we've helped that has been groundbreaking is, I can think of two very poignant examples. In May, we went shark tagging in the Bahamas. We piggybacked along on this shark tagging expedition a doctor named Dr. Brendan Phillips, who's a professor actually. And what he specializes in engineering deep drops for cameras, baited cameras. And then once they're down there, it can observe what's going on with all the wildlife down there. And
how deep are we talking?
Oh, well, in this case, the tongue of the ocean can reach depths of, I want to say 1,800 feet. I could be wrong about that. I know for a fact that it was about 700 meters down. So there's some conversion there, but I remember seeing the number 700 meters. That's where, because there's different shelves, right? And so it hit a spot where it was 700 meters down. And it's there, and for about 6 hours you let it soak and just sit there kind of capturing whatever's going on. And we see this shark come into frame. And we're talking depths that you wouldn't think any big animal is existing at, much less a shark. And it was a sharp-nosed seven-gill shark, which is a species that had never been caught on camera.
Good God.
Before. Yeah, I know. So that was a first, and there's been a paper already published about it in a science journal. Because
it's amazing. They say that we know more about space than we do the oceans.
I know. And, that's...
Because it's so difficult to get down there.
I mean, the pressure, the deeper you go, the pressure becomes, to the point where you can't send a manned vessel down. Now, I know James Cameron tried going down
that's my next question.
Trench, and maybe he
did. Do you know James Cameron?
I don't yet.
Come on, this is...
I know, this is his
This is a partnership made in heaven.
It really is, So,
Is he going to go and do something like that again?
I don't know, and I think he did it more just for the experience, to say, hey, look what I did. So, I don't know how much science he was doing down there. He's not a scientist. He's more of a thrill seeker, and he just likes breaking barriers like that, which is great. But for us, I mean, we like to break scientific barriers as well, and so sending
is that what the
camera
Rev
down.
Ocean thing is then?
Rev, yeah, that is, we don't necessarily work with them, but we have been in contact with them to maybe see about future projects. And
That's not going to be finished for a while,
it's
is it?
not, because we've only seen renderings of the ship that they're building.
They just I just saw on Facebook they've done the first section. It's come out. It's
really?
come out of the sheds.
Okay. Yeah. So exactly, ships that big, you do them in sections, and we don't know when the completion date is for that. You know, the current model for Seakeepers is we take yacht owners, existing yachts, and whenever they're not being used by the owner or on a charter, then that's our opportunity to say, hey, can we borrow it for a week?
It's like Airbnb.
Yeah, it's like an Uber for scientists, for marine scientists, in a sense.
You need to do hashtag scientist at Uber.
Marine
Uber science.
Yeah. So that being said, since they'll have their own ship, then whatever Rev wants to do, they'll already have a platform from which to work. So I don't know how much we'll be able to work together, but you never know. Collaborations happen all the time.
So Waterway Cleanup.
Yes.
Up in Lauderdale.
Broward, yep.
Are you doing that?
I am, yeah. I did it last year. I had like a 50-pound bag of garbage. So
I'm going to be filming it this year.
Oh, okay.
And
so you'll see me there.
I'm trying to work out the narrative for the film.
Yeah.
And I trained as an actor.
Okay.
And there's a method actor.
Okay.
And there's a guy called Stanislavski.
Yep, I'm aware.
All right. So one of his first lessons for actors is to sweep the stage.
Okay.
You, as the actor, clean your stage.
Right.
Before you do your thing. And for me, what I'm thinking is Waterway Cleanup's the same thing. Clean the oceans before you use them.
Yeah.
Be responsible for your own environment.
Absolutely.
And so this is really... there's so much there to be told.
Yeah, and that's exactly the idea behind Seakeepers is we're asking those who have these vessels, these really nice, luxury, fun to use.
But capable, that's the thing.
Very capable, and capable of taking you wherever in the world. And that's another benefit that we offer is that we can go to places that maybe some research vessels can't go. You know, vessels that are smaller and built for research.
Yeah.
Maybe they're a little more robust or they have a crane, but that's okay because there's yachts that have the same crane, but they can carry 12 guests and they can go to the Arctic if you want to go to the Arctic. They can go to Fiji if you want to go to Fiji or wherever, you know. So that's the idea is that people that are enjoying the ocean are now becoming responsible for its well-being.
Now let me just run a tax question by you.
Yeah.
Do they get a tax write-off?
They do, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so that's another big incentive.
So is it considered a charter to Seakeepers?
No. I mean, you could say that it's semantics. It's a free charter. But, I mean, really, they're not charging any money to the scientists. And that's about it. Sometimes the scientists will have a small budget. And if maybe it's a smaller boat, let's say, and it's not some very wealthy owner with a captain and crew, and they can cover the cost of fuel, provisions, all that. That's the case with the bigger boats. But sometimes there's a smaller boat. Maybe it's like a 40-foot catamaran where the captain is the owner, and you know they're taking out a team of scientists. Maybe they can't afford to feed 4 guys and fuel and dockage. So that's when we come in and maybe give a little bit of help budget-wise for, let's say, the food for the scientists.
But I love what you said last year was, you know, these guys normally have to spend the money on the boat.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So
90% of the budget goes to chartering vessels. And what that does is that takes away from any budget that maybe they need to pay for lab assistants because, you know, most of the work you do, you know, going out there and doing the exciting thing of, let's say, tagging sharks and taking blood from the shark and taking tissue samples from the shark, that's all well and good. But in the end, it has to go to a lab and be analyzed or stored and all that, which takes money. So, you know, these trips, sure, there's budget to cover the trip or chartering the vessel, but once they're done chartering the vessel, they've got almost nothing to work with. That's why we come in and we try to take that burden off of them. And now they can, especially nonprofit organizations like Beneath the Waves, for example, which I'm going to go on a trip with them this coming Tuesday. I'll be meeting them in the Bahamas. They're a shark conservation organization.
Your passport must be
it's been
in need of
a
renewal.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm seeing, what is it, Jack Cousteau, what was the other one, Sylvia?
Oh, Sylvia Earle, yeah.
And then 20 years' time, when Tony Gilbert.
Let's hope. Yeah. I mean, hopefully the
Gilbert. I'm going to say it right now on celluloid. The Gilbert. The Gilbert Foundation, the Gilbert Award. Because the Jacques Cousteau Blue Award.
You know what? It may sound ambitious, but you never know. It could happen. So
no, I mean, you're doing things. Yeah. Instead of talking about things. I heard this thing the other day.
Absolutely. That's one thing about nonprofits. Sometimes they have a really good message, and then they don't really come through on the action.
I think there was they were in England. That's right. We're listening to the radio. This teacher wants to take her students to the Houses of Parliament in England.
Yeah.
Get the kids off school for the day to hold placards to protest climate change. And people are like, what's the point?
Yeah.
You can't take kids out of school to go and hold a placard. Do something practical.
Yeah.
Go and pick litter. Go and do something. Don't just talk about it and put a hashtag up.
Exactly.
And you guys are actually getting in there and doing it.
Right. And so, I mentioned earlier that the bulk of what we've done so far and are doing is scientist-led expeditions, where you have an actual scientist and his team on board a boat, borrowing that boat for, let's say, a week at a time, and collecting data on whether it be sharks or coral reefs or what have you. But then there's citizen science, where it's a lot easier to get boats to do things for you if you're not asking them to lend you their boat. So let's say the boss, or what they call a boss trip, where the owner is actually using his boat, or if they have charters. Now what we say is, okay, well, don't worry. We're not asking you to take on a team of scientists. This is something you can do with your crew or, with the owner on board. And that brings me to what that big net is.
Yeah.
So what that is a very big but, capable net of taking really large water samples. And what those samples are going to contain are microplastics. So what we're going to do is we're going to have about 5 or 10 boats, depending on how many. If you'd like, I can show you. Yeah, so it's pretty big. And it's a really fine mesh. What that does is it lets water through, but when you cinch this at the end, what you're left with is a whole bunch of particulate and plankton and, well, in our case, plastic. So we're not using this to clean the oceans.
Plastic, yeah.
Yeah, what we're doing is we're trying to analyze the concentration of microplastics that are in the ocean currently. And then that way, what do? We inform policymakers. So that's our taking action is, okay, the science is good and the numbers are good to have on a piece of paper. How do you take that further? What do you do with those numbers? Hopefully we will inform the public on making better choices with the plastic they use. The less single plastics you use on a daily basis, the better, because the less of it will end up in the ocean. And it's not just the bottles that are floating at the surface. When those break down, they never completely biodegrade. They turn into small microscopic
microbeads and all that.
And what happens to those microplastics? They get ingested by the small fish.
Yeah.
They go all the way up the food chain back to us. So in a nutshell, we are now eating the same plastic that we dump in the ocean. We're going to try to use that net to analyze how bad that situation really is. And once we have those numbers, we're going to take them to policymakers to maybe manage waste a little better. And also, tell the public, look, we now have the numbers and the raw data. And this plastic problem isn't just us saying, hey, plastics are bad. We're going to show them how bad it really is.
Well, this for me is the biggest problem I have with climate change.
Yes.
Everyone's harking on about it, and everybody, it's not a case of believing or disbelieving.
Yeah.
It's the story that's being told.
Mm-hmm.
Change happens with you.
Yeah.
And so the way that you consume, the way that you dispose of you make it. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going on my high horse, but yeah. Anyway, we will have to have a debate about this because
Sure.
Yeah. Have you ever read? You've seen the film Climate Hustle?
No, I have not.
Have you read the book? Anyway, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
We'll get into that
we'll talk later.
Because it's a very politically motivated cause.
That's one thing that's been most frustrating for me is how political the whole issue about environmentalism or the science behind it, how it's become a political issue when in reality,
because it makes a lot of money.
Whether you're on this side or this side of the political spectrum, guess what? We're all part of the same environment. So this you know, what's become kind of a bad word for, let's say, you know, people on the right side of the spectrum, environmentalist. You know, no longer are the days where if you consider yourself an environmentalist, you're just, oh, some tree-hugging hippie. We've actually noticed, which is good, that there's people of means that are realizing that this is a real problem that affects everyone, no matter what your political leanings are. And, you know, they're actually now being able to use those means to help out. So, yeah.
And it's... Yeah.
Yeah.
This is going to be an exciting journey, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I can't wait to see what the future holds.
And what's Michael like to work with?
Michael, he's got stories for days, let's just say that. And, you know, he's lived quite a life. He really has. If I had to guess his age, I'd say early 70s. And in all that time, man, has he lived. He's lived in Saudi Arabia. He's been an attorney for the past 40-something years, so with high-profile clients. So yeah, he's got a story for every point he likes to make, or he's trying to make in a meeting.
He'll back it up.
You better and make sure that you've already visited the restroom, because you're going to be there for another hour. Every point, and then sometimes he has to remember what kind of point he's trying to make with that story, and then he'll take a step back. Wait, what was I trying to say now?
What was I trying to say with this?
Well, anyhow.
Well, so this is our second-year anniversary T-shirt.
Yeah.
Take that off. This is our industry. We got Seakeepers down here somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere. No, I don't know.
Where are you?
There you are.
There you are. Well, we got the party tonight.
Yep.
And good luck.
Yeah.
This is. I'm hoping to follow you guys.
Yeah, you know,
closely.
That's good, and I really like what you're doing with this, and you know, kind of documenting the whole industry. But you know, we're kind of this very niche part of the yachting industry, and I'm glad that you know we now made it onto these weekly Yetis and everything you're doing. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.